Hi! Have you ever thought if it's even worth trying to ferment store-bought cucumbers, considering that they are available year-round, unlike Gherkins? If so, let's find out together and compare them. First of all, you need to wash your cucumbers. Put them to the bowl or any container you have and soak overnight, or at least few hours. Now let's talk about the main differences. Store-bought cucumbers are usually larger than Gherkins. The color of Gherkins is darker and their skin is harder, which makes them more crunchy. Gherkins have small bumps on their skin, which you can feel when you touch them. They usually have a more intense flavor and aroma than cucumbers, which are often more watery and less aromatic. Now it's time to cut the flower ends and make the cucumbers and Gherkins the same size. The practice of cutting off the blossom end of a cucumber before fermenting is due to the enzymes present in it that can affect the quality of the cucumber. Specifically, these enzymes can impact the fermentation process, causing the cucumbers to have a softer texture or even become mushy. On the cucumber on the right you can see the flower end and on the left the stem. However, if you are not sure which end is the flower end, you can cut off both ends. This will also speed up the fermentation process. Horseradish root is traditionally added to fermented Gherkins. It adds a sharper taste to the Gherkins, which can enhance their flavor and add a bit of spiciness. Horseradish also has an antiseptic and preservative properties. To prepare it, peel off the skin, clean any imperfections and cut into pieces. Next we need to peel some garlic. To make it easier, smash a clove with a knife or your hand. Then cut it in half and set it aside. When we cut the garlic, it releases the aroma more quickly. By the way, all the ingredients are listed in the description or in pinned comment. Wash the dill and put it aside. It will give its characteristic flavor to our final product. Traditionally, I should also use fennel stalk, but I couldn't find it. Now we need to weight all the ingredients along with the water. The easiest way is to place the jar on a scale, tare it, and then at the end check the total weight and subtract the weight of the jar. As you can see, I'm adding a Bayleaf, but traditionally I should use a horseradish leaf or other leaves such as oak, currant, cherry or grapevine. I'm adding about a teaspoon of mustard seeds to each jar. It is best to start with dill and other ingredients, and at the end add cucumbers and enough water to cover everything. This way, if you pack the cucumbers tightly, they will prevent other ingredients from rising to the surface. To fill the gaps between the Gherkins, I cut them into thinner pieces and put as many as I could fit. In the gaps, I also put the horseradish. At the end, fill the jar with water until all the ingredients are completely covered. Check the total weight and pour the water into a jug. In my case, it was 1 kilogram and 257 grams. Now we need to add the appropriate amount of salt. The salt content in the brine should be between 2 and 2.5% of total weight. I multiplied it by 2.25% and it came out a little over 28 grams. Mix the salt with the water until completely dissolved and pour it back into the jar. Repeat all the steps with the cucumbers. If you have the same type of jar as me, remember to remove the seal to leave a gap for gases that may form during the fermentation. Now all we have to do is wait for 2 to 3 weeks, which is usually how long fermentation takes. It's a good idea to check after about 2 or 3 days to see if the fermentation process has started and if no cucumber or anything else has floated to the surface, as it can start to mold and ruin the entire fermentation. If there are spices on the surface, simply scoop them out with a spoon. If it's something bigger, try to push it somewhere so that it doesn't float up again. After about 4 days, as you can see, there is foam on the surface, indicating that fermentation has started. If there is nothing floating on the surface except foam, we can set aside the jars and check them in a few days. I forgot to mention that fermentation should be carried out at room temperature, and it's best to place the jars in a dark place. After 17 days, it's time to check if the fermentation is complete. On the cross-section of the gherkin on the left, you can see white spots, which means it still needs a few more days in the brine. The cucumber on the right is ready, as you can see. Here you can see the insides from both sides. Going back to the question from the beginning of the video, there isn't a big difference in taste, but the gherkins are crunchier and slightly tastier. This is probably because I bought them out of season, so they are not as flavorful as they would be during the season. So the simple answer is, if you can't get gherkins, you can still ferment cucumbers as a good substitute. I have another piece of cucumber here that was sliced at the beginning of fermentation, and there are no white marks, which confirms that uncut gherkins need a few more days to ferment. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. New videos will be posted every week. Thank you and see you next time!